the glorious doer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. What's happening? When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spaceless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime, pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. The heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagwan was dwelling on mass of Vulture's Mountain in Rajgir together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the category of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, not produced, unceased, stainless, not without saying, not deficient and unfulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, and no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. Ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Shariputra, there is no suffering, refutation and path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment and reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, 10 equal mantra. The mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Jaya ta om gati gati paragati parasam gati bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Mahasattva Bodhisattva Arya Avukadeshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that. It is like that one should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, and even the Tathagatas rejoice. And the Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharat Pariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avagradeshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. I prostrate to the gathering of Dakinis and the 3 Chakras who abide in the holy yoga using space. By your powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation, look after practitioners like a mother her child. Akka samarata shara samaraya pe. Samaraja Shara Samaraya Pe Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. By the teachings of the 3 supreme jewels possessing the power of truth, may inner and outer hindrances be transformed. May they be destroyed. May they be pacified. Shantam Kriya Soha. May all negative forces opposed to Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of the 80,000 obstacles be pacified, separated from problems and harmful conditions, Dharma, and may all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma, and may there be auspiciousness and happiness here right now. Oh, O holy and perfect, pure Lama, from the clouds of compassion that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please release a rain of vast and profound Dharma, precisely in accordance with the needs of those to be trained. And please bless my mind and the mind of all sentient beings to be free from all the wrong views, in all the realizations of the path, and be free from all obstacles and hindrances. Iram Guru Radna Mandalakam Niryatayami Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Janchu Bodhani Kapsuchi Dagi Juni Ki Pe Sonam Ki Drola Panju Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chodan Soki Chonamla Chanchu Badu Dagni Kapsuchi Dage Chunyi Kipe Sonam Ki Trola Panje Sangye Druparsho. And before we recite the third time in English, or whatever language you want, let's just imagine Lama Tsongkhapa in the space in front of us, who's the embodiment of all the Buddhas, all of our teachers, sitting on a golden cloud and surrounded by Kedrub J and Gyaltsab J, his two main students. And we have our father on our right and our mother on our left, and all the sentient beings around us. And we'll just do a very short stabilizing meditation on refuge, focusing on our breath. Breathing in with our whole body, breathing. And with every exhale, we imagine these blessings from Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples from their hearts becoming one stream of golden light that enters through our nostrils as we breathe and filling our bodies up with all the potentials and conditions to experience the ultimate refuge, the true nature of our own mind, in conjunction with this limitless love for all sentient beings. So we just imagine our breath breathing in, feeling the stabilizing clarity, safety, emptiness. In the aspect of love. And with every exhale, we feel that going out through all the pores of our skin, expanding our sense of self, releasing our small sense of self, the grasping I, as we spread our life force and our good energy out with all sentient beings. Maybe not our life force, but our wisdom energy, our compassion energy. So this time when we recite the Refuge Formula, as we do it, we can imagine those rays coming in and purifying our bodies and filling us up with realizations and then sharing that with all the sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And as much as we can muster this bodhicitta motivation, and then we can just imagine that Kelsip J and Kedrib J dissolve into Lama Tsongkhapa. And then Lama Tsongkhapa dissolves into a brilliant golden light, comes to the crown of our heads and fills us with delight. And most particularly with the realization of renunciation, bodhicitta, and right view. Learning to love ourselves so that we can be with ourselves in a quiet, undistracted way. Where just sitting quietly alone becomes a satisfactory, enlivening, even a happy experience. That's the doorway to renunciation. And when we have that, then we feel incredible compassion for all the beings that have not learned that secret, the secret of the mind. And we see them going here and there, trying to make their lives, make their nervous systems, make their feelings happy by doing things that are only temporary. And in our case now, so much of what we do that makes us happy leaves not only a stain on the mind's, kind of a non-dharmic stain, but these days everything we do seems to be around consumption, and it's getting to the point where the oceans are full of plastic and the landfills are overfilled, and it's like it's got to be something else besides shopping that makes us happy. And if we don't figure it out, we have to figure something else out. So let's just, think about this bodhicitta as a way of bringing people love, just naturally, the old-fashioned way, just hugs, pieces of cake, a walk in the park, very simple ways of communicating, because all anybody ever wants is to be safe and attached. And somehow we've lost that magic, because that doesn't cost anything. We don't have to buy anything to have what human beings need, which is community and safety. And so, that's what bodhicitta brings, And when we have this inner peace, which is called renunciation, then it's really easy to have time for others, and of course, understanding emptiness, that's the cream of the cake, isn't it? When you get that, then then it's limitless what we can do. So let's just make a really strong motivation that we can go through this text, because it's like I said last week. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what I said, but just praising Lama Tsongkhapa, that Lama Tsongkhapa he wrote these extensive lamrims, then he wrote a middle lamrim, then we have the foundation of all good qualities. And this is the bare bones, the sutra teachings of the Buddha as Lama Tsongkhapa understood it. And so we're just going to go through it today, and I'll share what I can. I'll try to go through the whole thing in 50 minutes. So let's just get started. And I think rather than read it all the way through, we'll just read it together, and I'll stop at different places and make little comments. And then we'll see if we can get to the end. And I encourage you to work with each verse and kind of bring it in. And what does that mean to you? So we start with, I bow down to my perfect gurus. And I did start with that last week. So I don't know if I will repeat so much about the guru, but yeah, Adam was just asking me a few minutes ago about why, do we need gurus, and why do we need gurus, and I mean, I'm sure you've all heard this before, that on the preliminary level, we need gurus because we always need a teacher. I mean, there's only so much we can learn from a book. You want to learn piano, it's great, you can learn piano, but if you really want to learn piano, you need a teacher. And the devotional aspect of it is if it's just being enthusiastic, it's just being enthusiastic. If you really want to learn something, we're devoted to it. It doesn't have to have, devotion doesn't have to have a religious context. It's just that, when you love playing piano, you wake up in the morning and you want to play your piano, and if you love tennis, you want to go play tennis. There's devotion there. So when we understand what these three principal aspects of the path are and the great value of them, then we become devoted to it. We want to learn it, we want to study it, we want to know about it. And there is something, I spoke a little bit last time about lineage. I don't quite understand, the science of how it works, but I think eventually we will understand more about the subtle energies that goes between people. I mean, it's already being used in healing people. I mean, there's great healers now that it's just all energy healing. And so there's an energetic relationship, a subtle energy relationship between teacher and student. And because that teacher has certain realizations, when we open our hearts to that teacher, that's how we begin to experience that realization. As we were talking about Lama Yeshe a little while ago, that Lama Yeshe had this capacity, if you were open to him, because he had such great, amazing realizations sitting in his presence, you didn't just get the words, you got the feeling, you got the experience. And that's what we want. It's like words aren't going to transform our mind. It's an experience that's going to transform our mind. It's an emotion, it's an experience. It's sort of like, if you have a mental construct in your head that's a negative thought, if you try to put a positive thought to it, I mean, sure, you can work with that, but would really change a negative thought if suddenly your heart just opened and it was gone. And that's what comes from devotion to a particular teacher. Or just even that, it doesn't even have to be the physical teacher. It just can be the lineage, the Buddha, something happens where it's more powerful, So anyway, I talked about that last time, but it just opens that door. And once we get a taste of that, then it's not blind faith. It's the experience of, oh yeah, I did a guru yoga practice this morning and something happened, so maybe I'll try it again. And sometimes it doesn't happen. I mean, sometimes we sit down to meditate and we do our guru yoga and nothing happens. And okay, that's okay. Nothing happened today. But maybe next time it will. And you never know when it's going to come. You never know when the blessing is going to bonk you on the head. But if you continue to show up, then from time to time you are blessed. And sometimes it comes when you're not even meditating. So we better let's go. So the promise to compose. So we can read it. Let's all read it together, huh? You don't see, people don't see, but I'm actually in a room of people in Jamyang. It's really great. I'm actually not talking to a screen. I'm talking to like 10 people or a dozen people. So we're all going to read it together. So let's go. The essential meaning of the Victorious One's teachings, the path praised by all the holy victors and their children, the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation. This I shall try to explain as much as I can. So let's keep going. Those who are not attached to the pleasures of circling samsara, who strive to make freedom and endowments meaningful, who entrust themselves to the path pleasing the victorious ones, you fortunate ones, listen with a calm mind. So I thought to say a little bit about this verse because of the line, those who are not attached to the pleasures of circling samsara. So I think for us, and maybe all generations, the question is how do we become unattached to the pleasures of circling in samsara? Because our attachments are so great that as much as we would like to think, oh, I'm not going to distract myself with this time, we just don't have the willpower to stop that. And so I just like to say a little bit about that. And because it's also connected to Lama Tsongkhapa saying, you fortunate ones who are not attached, who strive to make freedom and endowments meaningful, and entrust ourselves to the path, listen with a calm mind. Okay, that's a little bit difficult these days too. How do we have a calm mind? It's very difficult for most of us to calm down our mind. And so therefore it's difficult to be unattached to the pleasures of cycling existence, because really, and I'm just saying what it is for me, it might be different, completely different for you, but all I can do is share my experience, is that, when we're attached, the thing about attachment, it is not in itself a bad thing, but it's very difficult to have a calm mind when we're full of attachment, like I want to go here, I need to do this, and so then with that calm mind, it's very difficult to pay attention, to meditate, to go past the intellectual experience of Buddhism and actually get into something that's going to transform ourselves. So, so how is it that we begin to develop a calm mind? And okay, so I've been working with this for 40 years, because I'm just like everybody else. I grew up in the 20th century where did you see Adam? There's something up there. Yeah. So I have to thank, take this little break. I don't know what he's doing, but just thank you to Fabienne and who invited me to do this, and that I'm in Jamyang. So is it still going? Yeah. So it's like, how do we get a calm mind? Like you go set yourself up to go do a retreat and you sit there and you're still like busy. And so I'll just briefly touch on this. So what I've learned is that I have to work with my body, because what we learn in Tantra is that the mind rides on the winds, and the winds are our nervous system. And our nervous system penetrates our whole body. And there is so much now, so much has come out in the last 10 or 20 years about healing trauma, the vagus nerve, how to reset our vagus nerve. I really encourage you to look at Stephen Porges' work, or someone who's written about his work, about how we can reset our nervous system so that we get out of we have two sides of our nervous system. We have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is the calm mind. And in pre-industrial world societies, most people walked around with that engaged. But now our sympathetic nervous system is engaged, and that is the nervous system that is connected to our reptile brain in the back, which is connected to the fight, the flight, the freeze, sex, food, the main things that we're preoccupied with these days. And so that is a very uncalm mind, because you see, we've evolved materially, but we still have the same nervous systems of ancient indigenous people. And so we're sort of, this sympathetic nervous system is the one that's always looking for the saber-toothed tiger, or running from the bear, or, and so we can be walking down the streets of London, but our nervous systems are running from the saber-toothed tiger. And even when we sit down to try to read a book, our nervous systems are still running, so we can't. And so what do? We have to look at Facebook, or we have to watch a film, or we have to do something, because we don't know how to stop this running. And it's a little switch. We have to learn to switch this vagus nerve and there are many ways to do it. And so that's a whole other, weekend or, week of retreat meditation teaching. But I just want to touch on that, because it's so crucial now for people who are interested in the Dharma to learn how to have this calm mind. Because also, when we have a calm mind, the attachment thing, the attachment to the pleasures of cyclic existence are no longer like OCD, like no longer, we're not compulsive about it anymore. We can just enjoy pleasure. We can take it or leave it. Yes, I could have this, but I don't really have to have it. I just as soon go sit and be by myself, or, go sit and go, maybe I'd like to meditate. I don't have to have this thing, or it's so, and this is what Lama Tsongkhapa is talking about. This is the foundation, how we develop renunciation, because it's not, well, let's just keep reading, because we'll go through it. It's because the point is, it's not there's anything wrong with pleasure. Lama used to tell us all the time, you people, you don't even know how to enjoy yourselves, Simple pleasures are lovely. It's just when we can't relax, And I know that Rinpa Rinpoche told us before he was taught in the Santa Cruz area for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And before he left, he said, the main thing I want to tell you people is you have to learn how to relax. So fortunate ones, listen with a calm mind. So that's the question. How do we have a calm mind? And so that's up to me. When we talk about, Dharma in the West, or modern Dharma, is that we have new preliminaries now. It's not just Lamrim and Bodhisattva and Guru Yoga, but we have preliminaries for modern people, which is, how do we learn to relax our nervous systems? How do we begin to be in our bodies? How do we heal our childhood traumas? How do we turn the things that we think are bad about ourselves? How do we learn to see that in actuality, these compulsive habits that we have that are very difficult to let go of, they're not bad things. That's the thing, so much of us, we come into the Dharma and it's like, why can't I stop myself? And so we get even more uptight, because we get down on ourselves because we have these compulsive behaviors. But the thing that I really like about Gabor Mate's teaching on trauma is he gets everyone to see that those were really good strategies when you were a child. That was actually really smart that you developed this compulsive behavior, because that's what you needed to do to get the love that you needed to grow up. We had to conform to what our parents and our teachers and our older brothers and sisters, we had to create this false persona so that we could be an 8-year-old and make it through the day. So they're not bad things, But if we want to have a calm mind, if we want to be able to transform our behaviors, then it's important to be able to sit and meditate and bring up look at ourselves enough to kind of begin to use our analysis to start saying, I did that and I've done that. I do that a lot, so where does that behavior come from? And try to investigate and see, oh, I started doing that in the second grade when la happened, and then you can go back and, do Tonlin with that person, heal that part of yourself, not try to isolate it and make it a bad thing, but realize that it's a good part of myself and I need to embrace it and love it so that it no longer is a compulsive behavior, that I have freedom from it. So that to me these are two preliminaries that we need before you get renunciation. And one of them is learning to relax our nervous systems with yoga and qigong, or, and the other one is, investigating these behaviors that we have that we really have a hard time letting go of. And we can, this is just me, but, after 40 years of doing this, it's like I can apply as many antidotes as I want. It's empty. I'm compassionate. Oh, it's my karma. Oh, it's impermanent, but it's still there. And these other kind of things can help us, particularly if we do it within the context of the Lamrim, right? So, okay, that's that. So now let's keep going. So without the complete intention, definitely to be free from circling, there is no way to pacify attachment, seeking pleasurable effects in the ocean of circling. Also, by craving for cyclic existence, embodied beings are continuously bound. Therefore, at the very beginning, seek renunciation. So this is pretty clear, we have to recognize the fact that, well, it's the Four Noble Truths, isn't it? That we want to get out. And why do we want to get out? For all sentient beings. So then let's keep going. Freedom and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare. By gaining familiarity with this, attraction to the appearance of this life is reversed. By thinking over and over again that actions and their effects are unbetraying, and repeatedly contemplating the miseries of cyclic existence, attraction to the appearances of future lives is reversed. So this is basically the lower scope, isn't it? We have perfect human rebirth. We have death and impermanence. We have karma, and we have the suffering of samsara. And so there's no real time to explain all of these in great detail, but I think most of you are familiar with them. And so I think we can kind of look at what renunciation is then. It's the idea that, yes, I have this very amazing opportunity. So then we need to know, really, we need to think ahead of what is enlightenment, isn't it? What is it that we're going for? And that, in a way, comes back to the guru again, because when we've been exposed to an extraordinary being, when we've been touched by His Holiness, or touched by a Lama Yeshe, or touched by a Trungpa Rinpoche, or touched by Serkon Rinpoche, or, then we get this idea that, this is a very, very special opportunity I have, that I've met the Dharma this life. They talk about the turtle who comes up every 1,000 years and to a golden yolk, and he's floating in the sea. And however often there's this one golden yolk floating in the sea, and there's the turtle who's floating around in the sea, and he comes up every 100 years, I guess it is. He comes up every 100 years. And what is the likelihood of his head going up through that yolk? it's the idea is just to tell us how incredibly fortunate we are to meet the Dharma. And I think that this takes a little bit of faith based on reason, that that this is such a rare opportunity. But we first have to understand what enlightenment is and how rare it is to meet with the Dharma. And I guess if you just look around, you can understand that. And so the whole idea is to just, let's not waste our time, you know. Let's get as much as we can this life, because it takes many lifetimes. And then, I mean, I think perhaps karma, the teaching on the actions and their effects, is probably maybe the most important aspect of all of Buddha's teachings, I think, because it's what really liberates us, and it's what sets it apart from theistic traditions, because it lets us know that there is no one else responsible for what happens to me. And it's not to say that when bad things happen, I'm a bad person. It's just to know that I don't have to blame anybody. There's nobody doing this to me. And in a way, we don't need to hate ourselves. You know, I'm not doing this to me. It's just what happens. You know, we've been here countless lifetimes, countless rebirths. Of course, we need to believe in rebirth, and so things happen and they have an effect and they ripen. And if you study physics at all, or even biology, or just look around, if you've ever grown a garden, it's really easy to see karma in the world. You know, that if everything comes about due to causes and conditions, everything. So what makes us think that human beings are any different? I mean, we are nature, you know, we're mammals, we walk the earth, we've evolved, we're part of nature. So why would cause and effect be effective for everything else on this planet, not us? So really, to me, you know, Buddhism and karma is just the physics of human beings. You know, if you put physics into life science, then you get biology. If you put physics into the human attitude, the human mind, cause and effect, then we get Dharma. And so that's why I feel like Dharma is so relevant to today's world, because it's just based on, most of it is based on things we can understand and see, and the rest of it we can learn by extrapolation. And also, I think through experience, and also by seeing beings, people. It's almost like Buddhism is like an experiment that can be proven over and over and over again. You know, if you follow, it's like a very complicated recipe. You know, if you want to make a chocolate cake, you have this recipe and you follow it, you get a chocolate cake. Well, if you want to get a Buddha, you just follow this recipe and you get a Buddha. So there's no like hocus pocus, no mystical, you just have to do this. And because there is subtle forms and subtle energies, it may, make it look a bit hocus pocus sometimes, but I'm sure that with Geshe Namdak's help and all these physicists, it's all going to become explained, So but the thing is like, okay, once we understand karma and rebirth and disadvantages of samsara, and we understand these things, which I'm sure everybody here probably has, then I think the point is that why can't we do it? Why can't we, how do we get beyond the book and the understanding of it to change us, And so that comes from practice, That's why if you ever see His Holiness, when it happens a lot, I mean, I don't see so much, it's now, but when I used to go to teachings with His Holiness, inevitably someone says, what's the fastest way to get enlightened, And His Holiness starts to cry. And he talks about the calluses on Milarepa's bum. That we have to work with it, we have to sit with it. And that goes back to what I was talking about 5 minutes ago. So how do we create a body and a mind that wants to sit down and meditate? That's why we have to go back to that. And so how do we create, it's just so simple. How to create the causes and conditions to become a meditator, you know? And if we really have no interest in it, well, then how else can we create the cause for enlightenment? What else can we do? You know, there's lots of ways. But I think the point of meditation is to think over and over and over again the advantages of an enlightened being or the advantages of being a samsaric being. And it's a bit of a no-brainer. So once we really get that, then we can go about creating the cause and looking at ourselves and okay, well, how can I personally create the cause? I'm not like George. I'm not like Fabienne. What can I do? And so I think that's what renunciation is once we understand that there is such a thing as Buddhism, there's such thing as enlightenment. Get excited about it. What am I going to do? You know? And so, and I think that part of why I think this whole kind of healing of our childhoods, without blaming anybody or maybe you don't have to think it that way, but I think there's this, something comes when we can delve deep enough through, and only way I know is through meditation, but there may be other ways to really get to know myself. That's something that Lama Yeshe said, you know, get to know yourself. What is your authentic being? You know, we hear these words now, authenticity, because I know that, you know, I created another kind of person that's the pleasing other person who pleases people, because that's how I survived, or, you know, the kind of adaptations I made on top of kind of who I really am, if that makes any sense in a relative sense, you know, the kinds of things that resonate with me, that I'm good at, that I feel excited about, you know, that I get energized about. So I think part of our analytical meditation, through even just basic death and impermanence and rebirth and investigating our own lives, applying it in our own lives, is that we begin to, as Lama Yeshe used to say, take off the blankets. You know, we have all these layers on top of us of you know, who we are. And as we begin to take off the blankets and get closer and closer to just our relative self, you know, my authentic being, that then I can kind of discover how I'm going to manifest my renunciation, because renunciation isn't turning away from something, it's going towards something. It's how am I going to go towards Buddhism, this life? How am I going to use my life, this life, in the best way to go towards enlightenment? Not the way somebody else tells me, not the way somebody else, but what a way that really that I can use to energize myself, you know, because there's lots, I mean, Buddha taught 82,000 methods, you know, we don't all have to do that, but I really believe that some kind of mindfulness meditation, just sitting and learning to be with ourselves, is really important. And that to me is where we find renunciation. And then we can be transparent in our relationships with other people. Relationships become very easy with other people if we're just ourselves, you know, because we don't have to pretend. And I mean, another thing Gabramante said, he said, you know, we have to learn to say no sometimes. He said, because if I don't learn to say no, if I say yes to doing something that I really don't want to do, then people aren't really going to know when I'm really saying yes, because I'm like, you know, this false self that we have. And I think that's something that we like about Tibetans, that we like about lamas, you know, they don't seem to do that so much. You know, it's like what you see is what you get. And so I think the closer we can get to that, then the easier it is for us to become Buddhas, you know, because we're kind of like working with our true selves rather than working with this false self, because I don't think a false self goes to enlightenment. It's just, we kind of have to get down to the nitty gritty of what is, you know, what does need to be transformed in me, you know, not just this fake person that I go around pleasing everybody with. Do you know what I mean? So let's keep going. So wait, I'll just say this. So we need to know, what is renunciation? What is it? It's, well, I said the other day, it's like learning to love ourselves for who we are. What is renunciation? Because then that we want to use positive enthusiasm to go towards enlightenment, not negativity. It doesn't serve. There's no growth there. There's no life there. There's no love there. So thinking about renunciation in a positive way, and of course, why? Why? Because as His Holiness says all the time, everybody just wants to be happy. We want to be happy, and we want to make other people happy, and ultimately we want to get out of samsara. And right now we want to really help the human race, in whatever way we can. We want to help the human race. So let's become authentic, clear, loving people. So whatever we do, we can do it well, So how do we develop renunciation? Well, I've kind of said that. I think we need to use the traditional, death and impermanence, perfect human rebirth, karma, how cyclic existence arises, these kinds of things. We use that along with kind of modern methods of how we learn to be ourselves and how we learn to be peaceful inside. And with all that together, then we have a really solid foundation for developing this bodhicitta, which what comes next, So let's keep reading. Now we're in verse 5. Well, I'll just have to say this. It says here, this thing about attractions to this life, attractions to future lives. That's very traditional, that we give up appearances to this life as the first step. And then in a culture that believes in future lives, and we give up to future lives. Because why? Because we want to focus not on this life. We don't want to focus on future lives. We want to focus on enlightenment, which is the end to all ordinary lives. So that's what that's referring to. So then, okay, when by having trained in that way, there is no arising even for a second of attraction to the perfections of psychic existence, and all day and night the intention seeking liberation arises, then the thought of renunciation has been generated. So imagine that, that all day and night, that's what we're, like, how can I get out? It's like, you've seen these, if you ever watch the Olympics, imagine what it's like to be an Olympian, all day long, how am I going to run the 2-minute mile? That's what it's. So it's like, it's that kind of enthusiasm and that's why I think this whole thing about authenticity, if we can become more authentic, we can find that kind of enthusiasm. We won't be depressed. Okay, so then let's go. Now we're in the next one. Verse 6. Even if renunciation has been developed, if it is not possessed by the mind of enlightenment, does not become the cause of the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. Let's keep going. Swept away by the current of the 4 powerful rivers, tied by the tight bonds of karma and so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the total darkness of ignorance, endlessly reborn in cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the 3 sufferings, thinking that all mothers are in such a condition, generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. In short, if, like the mother whose cherished son has fallen into a pit of fire and who experiences even 1 second of his suffering as an unbearable eternity, your reflection on the suffering of all mother sentient beings has made it impossible for you to bear our suffering for even 1 second, and the wish seeking enlightenment for their sake arises without effort, then you have realized the supreme precious mind of enlightenment. Well, bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is a mind that you just kind of feel it. I remember and John Landau's here, amazingly enough. And John was there when Lama gave, I think it was, he gave the Vajrasattva empowerment at Vajrapani. I think it might have been one of his last empowerments in the summer of 1983. And he said, I'm not going to talk about bodhicitta. He said, we're just going to sit and meditate on bodhicitta. And we just sat there for 15 minutes. And of course, I just sat there, you know. I didn't, you know, I mean, I didn't look around the room, but it was the same when they'd say, let's meditate on emptiness. You know, it's like, okay, well, okay, bodhicitta, you know. But I have to say that now, you know, bodhicitta, when you do the practice, when you follow the recipe, thinking about the kindness of sentient beings, and, you know, we don't have to, if our mothers, if we can't relate to the mother, then we can think of somebody who's been kind to us, or just the general kindness. And even, you know, so many people in the West have this thing about the mother, but if you think about it, you know, if your mother wasn't kind to you, it's because she was really stressed. And if you can really think about how she did take care of you, even under this great duress, then you can relate to the kindness of that mother, you know? So, yeah, so bodhicitta, I mean, for me, what works is I just sit and think about, it's so easy. Just think of the news and think about the suffering that's in the world today. And anyone pretty much can feel something when we remember one of those scenarios. And I know that when I'm in retreat, the thing that brings up bodhicitta the most for me is if I remember like a terrible news story. Like I remember hearing the news about their children in Rio de Janeiro, who, I don't know if it's happening now, this was quite some time ago, but every day there's this squad that goes out and shoots children because there's too many of them and they're on the streets. And it was this story of this one woman, one little girl who was 5 years old, and she just lay under all the bodies of her friends who had been shot, and she survived. So if I think about that, you know, it brings tears to my eyes. And then I feel in my heart, you know, wow, you know, I want every single sentient being to be free from suffering. And then you just feel that in your heart. And you hold that in your heart. And that's the beginning of bodhicitta. So for me, in a modern way, rather than thinking about the kindness of my mother, I mean, not that I didn't have a kind mother, I mean, I can do that. But when I think about these stories, or if I think about like the bombs in Iraq, you know, or the children in Yemen, or the young people who are, you know, brainwashed and becoming Taliban and become suicide bombers. I mean, there are so many examples in the world today that if we do an analytical meditation on that, and then sit with that feeling of, oh man, I've got, you know, I just wish so much for these beings to be free from suffering. And we do that over and over again, then our hearts begin to crack open and break. And then we can start to do Tonlin practice in a really genuine way. And we begin to feel bodhicitta. You know, because His Holiness one time said that there are two experiences that we feel with our whole bodies, not just with our minds. And one of them is love, and one of them is emptiness. And I found that to be extremely helpful. And then another Tibetan Lama, whose name I can't remember, I'm sorry, he said, where there is blood, there is mind. So the experience of bodhicitta is not something that we think about. It's something that we feel, which is why when Lama Yeshe said, you know, we're going to sit here and meditate on bodhicitta, because it's something that radiates from our hearts. And so I just encourage you to in your own way, find your own story that touches your heart. Maybe it's your story, maybe it's you are someone that we can feel compassion for, and maybe that's the best place to start. And maybe that's how we develop renunciation, is by, finding compassion for ourselves to heal our own woundedness, with that kind of love, and be skillful enough as a meditator to have one part of you looking at yourself, as the healing person, and then the other part of you being the person that's being healed. And you can do Tonlin with yourself. I remember one of the things I loved about Sogyal Rinpoche's teachings is he started Tonlin. He said, in the West, we have to start Tonlin with ourselves. We have to breathe in all of our own suffering and let that destroy the self-cherishing mind, and breathe out love and compassion for myself. So I'm just touching on these things, but I would like to share something with you that you may not have, that's actually from the Lamrim, and then we'll move on to a few minutes on emptiness. But I wanted to, something that's really helped me a lot is, you know how the Lamrim, there are the 10s of these and the 5s of those. Okay, well, these are a bit of a list of these kinds of lists. And if you're really serious, it's good to memorize these outlines, because then when you meditate, it's so much deeper to meditate without reading. Because when you're reading, you ended up being very intellectual. So if you can memorize the outline and do it from the inside out, you have a much deeper transformative experience. So one of these outlines is about bodhicitta. So there's the cause of bodhicitta, the conditions of bodhicitta, and the powers of bodhicitta. So, and I just found this very interesting. The cause of bodhicitta is hearing the qualities of a Buddha, or seeing the qualities of a Buddha. Better if we see one, if you can be around His Holiness, or be around Lama Zopa, or whoever, and then because by seeing or hearing the qualities of a Buddha, we can develop some kind of faith. And it's not kind of blind faith, but it means this aspiration, the aspiring faith, the believing faith, that once I understand this and believe it, I aspire to do that. And so then when we kind of get what bodhicitta is, and have a taste of how transformative and how powerful it is, and we realize this is the third one. It's so precious. Bodhicitta is so precious because it overcomes every single negative mind. It overcomes every single conflict. With bodhicitta, there's no conflict. We just let go, karma, let go. And so, and this is the part that I like. The fourth one is that in these degenerate times, even if I just aspire to bodhicitta, if I just even generate, even if I just try to generate bodhicitta, what an amazing thing that is. We just want to keep bodhicitta alive. With the idea of bodhicitta, let's keep it alive. It doesn't have to be in a beautiful gompa, but if we just have it in a few of our hearts, So those are the causes of bodhicitta. We hear about the qualities, we develop faith, we realize how precious it is, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to do it too. I can keep it, So I'm going to practice. So then we have the causes, or the conditions. And I thought this was really interesting, that the conditions for developing bodhicitta is we need to be aligned with a suitable lineage, And I know that Zongsar Khensi Choki Lodro, the previous Zongsar Khensi Rinpoche, who's a big Rimé Lama, he said, it's good to study all the different lineages, but it's best to practice in one, if you can. Just, if you like Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim, great, go for that one, And then, it's really helpful if we can have an actual guide, an actual teacher that we can go to get advice. It doesn't mean we always have to follow the advice, but sometimes it's helpful to have a mentor, And then the next condition is having compassion for sentient beings, some kind of natural compassion. And then the last one, the fourth one that I also like too, is we have to be undaunted by hardship. Because if we give up, His Holiness, he's always saying, never give up, don't give up, So we have to have a mind that's ready to go through a little bit of hard work, just like an athlete, they go through a lot of hardship. And then there's the four powers of developing bodhicitta. So there's the power of the self. It's like, okay, I can do this. The power of others. We have a teacher, teacher, that's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, we have people to help us. And then it's very helpful to have some previous life karma. And everybody in this room, everybody in this Zoom, we all have previous life karma. We wouldn't be here. And then we have to be willing to practice every day a little bit, remembering bodhicitta a little bit. So then we have bodhicitta. Oh, now we're almost out of time. So let's just keep reading. That's bodhicitta. We'll go through the right view. Number 9. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, even though you have generated renunciation in the mind of enlightenment, you cannot cut the root cause of circling. Therefore, attempt the method to realize dependent arising. One who sees the cause and effect of all phenomena of both cyclic existence and the state beyond sorrow as forever unbetraying, and for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared, has at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. If the appearance of dependent relation, which is unbetraying, is accepted separately from emptiness, as long as they are not seen as separate, then one has still not realized the Buddha's intent. If these two realizations are happening simultaneously without alternation, and from merely seeing dependent relation as completely unbetraying, the definite ascertainment comes that completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent. At that time, the analysis of the ultimate view is complete. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. If you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, then you are not captivated by the wrong notions holding extreme views. In this way, you realize exactly the vital points of the three principal aspects of the path. Resort to seeking solitude, generate the power of effort, and quickly accomplish your final goal, my child. So, I think since we really don't have a lot of time, I think most of you have studied emptiness and dependent arising anyway. And I would just like to say how we can use our daily life to continue to grow our experience of emptiness. And this is one of the reasons why Lama Tsongkhapa is so helpful when in his teaching on dependent arising and emptiness, that says over and over again that they're two sides of the same coin. It's like a gold piece of a silver coin is silver, but it also has this value. It's a coin, and so it's the same. Things are dependent arising, but they're also emptiness. And it doesn't take a lot of understanding or meditation or thinking about it to realize that, because if things weren't interdependent, then they could never change. And things are always, it couldn't grow, it couldn't move. If a seed was inherently existent, it couldn't become a tree, So, we get these very simple things like the table, where is the table? The table is the table of the parts. It's the table, you can't be found in the parts. Therefore, the table is merely labeled. And of course, that dependent arising, there's 3 levels of it. We have things that are dependent on their parts, they're dependent on their causes and conditions, and the fact that we label it. So when you're going about the day, you can look at things and just in a way, like I could look at right now I'm looking at Kamalo's table. And if I look at it for a minute, I can kind of relax my grasping mind and just see a bunch of bits and pieces. And so looking at that table, I can tell myself that I'm looking at this dependent origination, and that it's only because my mind labels it table that it's a table. And, you can do that just walking around. If you go for a walk, you can look at the tree and you can just say, good shape color. That it's my mind that's calling it a tree, And in actual fact, it's like, even from a scientific point of view, even when I was studying ecology, they told us that the tree is just a label, because the tree is connected to the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. It's constantly changing. It's bringing up stuff through the roots. So even from a scientific point of view, a tree is merely labeled because from science, where does the tree end? Its roots are constantly communicating with mushrooms and nutrients, and it's always communicating with the sky. So it's an arbitrary label because we see it that way, that there's this outline, there's leaves in a tree, but where's the tree? The tree's in my mind. So throughout the day, I encourage you, just every once in a while, just stop and, think for a moment and look at it's like you pull the label back and you just see the parts, And the other one that I like to do is when I walk around is the one that, of course, my great teacher Lama Tsongkhapa, I, me, I. How often am I always thinking I? All day long, So if we can train ourselves to every time we think I, particularly, like, the thing I like to do is when something happens I don't like, oh, there's that thing that doesn't truly exist from its own side, instead of going, and over time, it's possible to do that, especially if we think about I when it's not excited, when it's just sort of there. And you can just sort of, as you're walking around the place, we're always feeling I. So we can kind of, all throughout the day, we can kind of go, where is this I? And the last thing, we're out of time. The last thing I sort of wanted to say, and maybe we can take one question, is that the point of all this is that, especially the emptiness stuff, is that as we begin to relax the sense of out there's real and inside's real, we begin to come in contact with what they call awareness, because awareness is the sphere in which the I comes up. And so the more we begin to meditate, this is why meditation is so important, because the more we begin to meditate, we begin to familiarize ourselves with the space, which is this awareness, within which, the bit that's cognizing, the cognizer of the I, the cognizer of the things out there. We become more and more familiar with this capacity of cognition. And then as we meditate more and more with that, then we realize that that's empty too. And it begins to liberate the whole experience of being a human being, because it's like it breaks it all down to all that's really left is this awareness, And so then it becomes very subtle and very simple. And hopefully at the time of death, we'll just be able to realize that all there is this awareness, and that's going to move on somewhere else. Because death time is a really important time. So, yeah, anyway, I did my best to do this in an hour. So is there like one question, and then we'll do a dedication maybe? Does anyone have a question? Nothing? I don't know if that's good or bad. Okay, well. Yeah, I mean, I'm just assuming that, you can study emptiness and bodhicitta other places, but at least we touched on it and we went through it. And I really, I want to thank Sneh for asking me to do this, because it's been a good exercise for me. And I guess I just want to end by what I said the other day, last week, which is that, after, 4 years of Yamataka retreat, millions and millions of mantras. Because you do these tantra retreats, but they're Lama retreats. What you can't, at least me, I don't have the concentration to, hold the deity for, hours and hours. So what do you do with your mind reciting mantra? You meditate in Lama. And it's wonderful. And I just really encourage you all to take time to do retreat, because don't think you have to be a good meditator. I'm a terrible meditator, but you do retreat and something really changes. And Lama Yeshe encouraged everyone to do at least 4 weeks a year of retreat. And I know that's harder in this day and age, but I really encourage you to take some time and do that. But anyway, at the end of all that, I think I told you, I realized that it's just about loving yourself, loving others, and letting go. Because emptiness is just letting go, And once you find that object to be refuted, you just have to let it go, And then, of course, we need blessing. So we need to pray for the blessing. And, there's nothing like Vajrasattva and Guru Yoga to help. And so let's do a dedication, and thank you very much. Oh, I have to change glasses. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all migratory beings, and in particular, may it cause the essence of perfect, pure Losang Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. In the land encircled by the snow mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chinrezig, please remain until samsara ends. You who uphold the Sadhura's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers, honoring the three sublime ones, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Ojang chu sam chogrim poche ma ke panam ke kyurching ke parnyam parme paryam gone gondu belwar sho. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Oh, Karina, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something? I think we have time. Oh, she's just saying thanks. Okay, well, thank you all. And thank you, Sheila, and thank you, Jennifer. So nice to see you, Jennifer. The lovely Dakini from New York. And everybody else. So thank you all, and thank you for Jamyang and to Adam and Kamlo and everybody here. And okay, good night.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everyone. This was really wonderful. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Bye, Eric. Bye, Patricia.
Thank you, Paula. Good night.
Bye, Veronica. Bye, Felicity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.